Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to a brand new F1 23 esports video. This is round number 7 around Kota, one of my best tracks historically seen in F1 esports, and as you can see it is intermediate conditions in Q1 and everyone is out on track at the moment to set a lap, as it's expected to stay wet for Q1 and then dry up for Q2 at some point. We never know exactly when it's gonna dry out, but we know more or less. So, yeah, we are out on track, trying to use all 3 of our intermediate tires, as we have time for 3 runs this time around Kota. And yeah, thus far it's not been a terrible lap, no major mistakes, but yeah, just trying to get into a little rhythm. Is always hard in wet conditions on this game, I feel like, because of the high rearing. I talked about this on this Zandvoort video as well. It's not easy to get into a rhythm in wet conditions on this game. But yeah, we've nailed every apex. Bit of a few oversteery moments on the exit. But yeah, thus far, nothing crazy. We just need to make it into Q2 anyway. Which sounds easier said than done, because we are racing 19 other of the best F1 esports drivers in the world that have done unlimited practice as well. So yeah, very hard always to make it into Q2, even harder to make it into Q3 of course. But we're gonna try and do it here. Across the line we go, bit of a moment on the exit. It's 2/10 slower than Alfie Butcher. So not a great lap, but yeah, on that second lap I got in a much better rhythm, and as you can see we're 6/10 up, purple middle sector, nice bit of rotation there into the final corner, good traction, and across the line we go. It is P1 thus far, and it's gonna, I think, stay like that until the last run. But on the last run we're gonna go on to SLICKS, as this is a drying track at the moment. I remember watching the tire delta. The SLICKS were around 2 seconds slower, but it is drying up. So yeah, with 3 minutes left on the clock, this is gonna be an interesting one, because I did not know at all what the other cars were gonna do, and you can see a car ahead driving out on intermediate. So yeah, this seems like a huge risk, but at the same time there is no safe option here, because if you go out on intermediates and the rest of the grid's on softs or on slicks, I mean, then you're the one taking the big risk. So this is not an easy one. We're in P1 at the moment, and behind us is another intermediate runner, Lucas Blakely, on the intermediates. You can see the track is still very wet. Even at the end of the outlap, there are only 3 people on slicks. Me, Jake Benham and Thomas Ronner. The top 3 is on slicks, the rest of the grid is on intermediates. So a bit of a bizarre scenario here, that the top 3 are the only ones on slicks. But you can see my tires are up to temperature, the track is still wet, and we are waiting as long as we can. DRS enabled just before we start our lap, and that means we already got a 2/10 advantage relative to the top 5 people out on track, because we are going to get DRS here, and they did not into turn 1. So bit of a gain from us there. Maybe not quite 2/10, maybe it's around 1.5 tenths, but couldn't quite get the power down though out of the final corner. We're still improving to our intermediate lap time. Lost a little bit on the exit there, but you can see we're visually losing at the moment to Alvaro Carreton ahead of us, and that is an issue. And I remember just telling myself, at this point in time, just stay calm. The tires will come to you, the track will come to you in the last sector where you need the tire advantage, because even in just this lap, the slicks are only gonna get faster and faster relative to those intermediates. So 6/10 up at the moment, we're not getting any dirty air. You can see how many people are bunched up together. They're all gonna get dirty air in the final sector, and we won't, because Alvaro Carreton pulled away in the last sector. So we got John Evans really close behind us as well. Closed up quite a bit in that first sector, but he's not gonna be able to get past us, so that's crucial. We've managed to nail this lap so far though. We stayed calm, not taking any crazy risk. 1.1 seconds up, and you can see we are slowly creeping up to the back. Maybe it's a bit of a placebo effect, as this is the slower part of the track, but I felt like I was closing in, and that was giving me confidence, trying to get the power down though, out of that tight left-hander. Lucas Blakely at 39.3. Now remember, our previous lap was a 41.5, so that means we need to improve just over 2 seconds to improve on Lucas Blakely, 2.2 seconds to be exact, and through the final corner we are gonna go through in P3, purple last sector, and that's what I was telling myself all the time. Stay calm, this last sector will come to you. Even though we lost, I think, around half a second in that first part of the lap, that final sector, that so slow speed, is the crucial one. And yeah, P3 there, 1.5 tenths away from Alfie Butcher in P1. Thomas Ronner on the slicks in P14, and our teammate Jake Benham did not make it through on the slicks, down in P19. And yeah, crucial that we got that lap in. Looking back, maybe the intermediates were slightly faster. It's hard to say because we still beat another 6, 15, 14 slick intermediate runners. So yeah, it's easy to talk afterwards, but in that time you don't know what the rest of the grid is gonna do. And slicks were still really fast nonetheless. Anyway, maybe they were a little bit harder to drive. But yeah, we played our cards right. We did a really clean lap on those slicks. So Q2 now. This is our first new set of tires that we got in Q2. A 31.234. P7 it is, so we're gonna have to go again. We've got the tires to go again anyway. And yeah, 11 seconds left on the clock. Make that 9 as we cross the start-finish line into turn 1. Important we nail this lap, because if we don't, we're going to be out in Q2. It is as simple as that, and we know this going into every single final run of Q1, Q2, Q3. If we don't nail the final run, it's over. So the pressure is fully on. Half tend up through the S section. This is not too hard of a section. It's all quite easy on this game. This is hard though. When the rear compressors, you tend to bottom out. It tends to really aggressively snap away. So we nailed that one. Through the hairpin we go. Nice bit of rotation. Decent exit. And we're over 10 top as we open the DRS. Down this long straight up to 8 gear, of course. In the race trim, you might leave it in 7th if you're running high wings. Maybe go up to 8. Downhill braking down to 3rd gear. Bit of marbles every single lap on your inside tires. Into the final sector we go. 3rd gear up to 5th and then down to 3rd again. Trying to progressively put loads on the front tires. Barry Borman with a 130.940. That's a phenomenal lap. If we manage to go 2 tenths up, we're going to be doing a 0.4. And we are P11 at the moment. I know that we do not have to improve that much to make it through, so I took it safe, as you can see, with the track limits. And up to P2 we go, 1/10 behind Barry Borman. Yeah, maybe we could have gone dipped into the 130s as well, but those last 2 corners I was playing it safe. I could see in my peripheral vision I was in P11, and I only had to improve marginally, so took it safe. P2 it is, 1/10 behind Barry, 1.5 tenths or 1.8 tenths safe to P11. Nicolas Longuet out in Q2 though, that's a bit of a surprise. But on to our banker lap here in Q3. It's 101.278 split going into the last sector, and that's really solid. That's a really good banker lap split. But this last sector is so important. It's the one where you can gain or lose the most time. So it wasn't a great second last corner, wasn't a great last corner as well. Bit of oversteer. Yeah, it's only a 130.906, but it puts us P2 at the moment, 1.5 tenths behind Barry Borman. And yeah, there's a lot of time in that last sector. I would say 2 tenths, 1.5 tenths to 2 tenths, just in that sector alone. And yeah, we had quite a equal split to Barry Borman into the last sector, so it is possible to do that last sector. Into turn 1 we go. Great bit of rotation there, and that's exactly what you want on this game. Not a slide, but a slide that you basically turn into, so where the back end wants to step away and you kind of keep just winding lock on the wheel. That's the fastest way around the tight corner on this game. Half-turned up as we go through this section. Onto 4th gear. And up the hill we go. It is 7 100s up as we head into the next hairpin. Again, I'm going to try and get a solid rotation through here, which we do. And yeah, it's actually a slight loss, 100 loss to our bank lap. But remember, as I said before, there's 1.5 to 2 tenths in that final sector alone. Maybe a little bit more time in this left-hander as well. But as you can see, I picked up a lot of marbles on the left-hand side. And that cost us a lot of lap time. Again, picking up some marbles through that right-hander, which is just not ideal. And again, a big loss, bit of a moment again on that tight left-hander. Lucas Blakely to provisional P1. And yeah, I knew at this point, there's nothing to lose anymore. We're just going to fully send it through the final 2 corners. A little bit of a gain there. Half-turn gain through the final corner we go. And that's just so frustrating. Picked up too much marbles in the downhill left-hander. And as I said, there was a lot of lap time through there anyway. And then picked up marbles again in the right-hander after. It's just so frustrating. That, yeah, a centimeter made a difference. Yeah, a 6-2 final sector there, where we should be doing 4s, at least like a low 5. But yeah, just the marbles, unfortunately. Of course, you just need to drive around them. It's as simple as that. But you need to be as close as possible to them to get as much lap time out of it as possible. But onto the race we go now then. Starting P8 on the grid. On the hards we're going to be starting. We've got Brandon Lee on the softs in P7. And it is going to be lights out and away we go from P8 on the grid. No soft runners behind us as far as I can see. Into turn 1 we're going to go. Down the inside of Fabrizio Donoso. Couldn't quite though because we got Brandon ahead. And I boxed myself a little bit in there. So Josh gets past us there. We actually cut off John Evans a little bit there in that right-hander. But 1 position loss on the opening lap. Not ideal. I don't actually remember losing a position on the opening lap in a long time. On track. Yeah. Zandvoort I lost 1 to Fabrizio, but I gained 1 to Ismail again. So yeah, I don't remember really, but honestly, there's probably a race this year where I lost a position on the opening lap as well. But when we go then, we got Patrick Sipos in P11 on a set of softs. He most likely is gonna get past us in this opening lap. He sends it down the inside. I almost committed there to the turn in, and if I did, he would be around. Usually the inside car loses on the F1 game if the outside car turns in, unlike in real life where the outside car always loses. On the F1 game, if you're on the inside and the outside car turns in, the inside car gets spun around. And yeah, of course, not any damage usually on the F1 game, but still, if you spin around on a grid like this, around a track like this, it is game over. So Freddie Rasmussen leading the race at the moment. And yeah, as we now skip on to lap 11, you might be wondering, why did this clown skip 10 laps? And that's because this is the most boring track to race on F1 23. And a simple reason for that is the marbles. Yeah, he cannot really make any big moves. Any big sends down the inside, or drive alternate lines to like avoid the dirt here a little bit. It's just not possible because of the marbles. If you try to go slightly off the AI racing line, you lose 2-3 tenths. So yeah, that just made the racing really boring on this track. Of course, a lot of high speed corners as well, which in dirt here you just lose lap time, but yeah, you cannot drive any other lines as well because you're instantly on the marbles. So yeah, it's marginally the dirt here, but it has a big effect, unfortunately, in a grid like this. So yeah, now we got Lucas Blakely leading this train and Thomas Ronhaar behind him, but Thomas Ronhaar has picked up wing damage in P2, and he's losing us a lot of lap time at the moment. So that's no ideal. We're gonna try and get past him on this next straight, of course. Because yeah, he knows as well. His race is over at this point. If you get the wing damage on this game, yeah, it's over. Because you're gonna have to change the wing. There could be tracks where you get away with it, where there's no high-speed corners, but Kota is probably one of the worst tracks to get wing damage. George though and Fabricio going side by side there, and I wasn't too happy with this because they are P1, P2 in the train. There's no point battling each other because ideally just optimize lap time from here in order to minimize the loss to the people that are undercutting us and maximize the gain to Lucas Blakely in the lead of the train. So yeah, a lot of people boxing relatively early. We are staying out. Josh Ido boxing at the end of lap 13. You can see in the bottom left, a lot of people have boxed already. Fabricio Donoso lap 14 boxing. We're gonna stay out though and go for another lap, just like Lucas Blakely in P1. Lucas obviously started on pole position, so I was quite surprised he went for the hard tires at the start. Because yeah, usually on F1 23, if you get pole position, you start on the softer compound. Again, might not be always the right decision, but it's just a bit of the usual strategy. At the same time, you know, if you always go for the usual strategy and don't take any risk, yeah, you probably won't do really well. There's always a time and place to take risk, of course. And maybe today was the one. We're gonna have to wait and see how this race unfolds for Lucas and for us, of course, to see what was the right strategy. Because, yeah, what is the right and wrong strategy really depends on how races unfold. So out we come, behind Danny Moreno. He started in last place and yeah, boxed slightly earlier than us, I reckon. We got Alfie Butcher in lap 17 behind us. He's moving past us, and that's great, to be honest. Because yeah, I just wasn't catching up fast enough to the train ahead. And yeah, I kind of needed someone who was perhaps only like half a tenth per lap faster. But yeah, at the moment, I wasn't really confident with my race pace. And yeah, this is kind of the same scenario we came across as in Zandvoort. Running on a maximum downforce track, my confidence just isn't that great because you have to put the rear wing up a lot in order to gain lap time. But that just creates understeer, which just hurts my confidence driving with this chronic understeer on this game. So yeah, it's just, I'm not sure why it affects me more than others. I've got some ideas why, and they are really easy fixes, but I only started realizing them after the season, as we now go around the outside of Ismael Fassi. Into P12 we go. Danny Moreno up next. He's in P11. Alfie Butcher with a fast lap at the moment as well. We're most likely not going to beat that anymore because we've completed 4 laps on this set of tires now. As now we're going to go for the move on the start-finish straight on Danny Moreno into turn 1 using a bit of our battery. He's not fighting this too hard because we're on a lot fresher tires. So into turn 1 we go down the inside. We got Ulas Ozildirim going for a move behind us as well, I think so. Danny Moreno and Ulas going side by side on the exit, and now we're behind Alfie Butcher again. Yeah, it's a bit frustrating. I lost the position to Alfie because we lost it at a bit of a wrong moment, just a lap before he got DRS, as Alfie and Fabricio are wheel banging a little bit on the exit here. Fabricio trying to keep the position, but yeah, you can see he starts flashing there, and that means he's on the 10% battery, and we are on 75, so this is going to be an easy move on the very next DRS straight. And yeah, the second I see someone flashing, or the second an F1 Esports driver sees someone else flashing, it's kind of bleeding in front of a shark, because they know you're on low battery. They know they can just drain their battery to get past you. And that's what we're doing here. Up to P10 we go. And right behind Alfie Butcher again. Ruben Pedreño in P8. I think both Alpines might have started on the softs actually. Yeah, that's a very aggressive strategy. You can see how much Ruben is sliding there on the exit. And yeah, couldn't quite get the power down quite enough. Maybe I'm running too stiff of a rear suspension to try and get rotation on this high downforce setup. But let's try and get past Ruben here. Couldn't quite find our way through there though, as Alfie gets squeezed off the track a little bit there on the left-hander. We're gonna go for the switchback on both of them. I've seen this one before, 1 year ago, and we go around the outside of Ruben into the next left-hander, and he squeezes a little bit onto the curb, but we've got the inside for the next one, and up to P9 we go. Instead of P8 though, so let's hope we can at least gain one more position. I really hate it so much if I lose positions relative to where I started in the race, and it hasn't happened to me a lot in F1 Esports, but there's not a lot of things that frustrate me more in life than losing positions relative to where I started in an F1 Esports race or in a league race. But yeah, on we go. Final 3 laps of this race. Patrick gets squeezed off a little bit in the final corner there. I decided not to use my battery because, yeah, this is very much sending distance, but there are cars ahead of you, and that's such a problem in esports. When you're behind someone, you very often, it would be really easy to overtake them if there was not a car ahead of them, but it's very rare that there's not a car ahead of the person you're trying to overtake. This is a prime example of Bahrain, for example, where I said in an interview before the race, it's a really hard track to overtake, and there were people on social media saying, "What are you waffling about? It's such an easy track to overtake." And that is true, as we do a naughty little send down the inside of Patrick there, squeeze him a little bit onto the curb, even a little bit wider than we squeezed him wide though. But yeah, there were people saying, "Oh, it's such an easy track to overtake," and that is true in case there's no one ahead of the car you're trying to overtake, because in those long braking zones, if there's a car ahead, you can't send it because you would just drive into the car ahead. But yeah, obviously in a 1v1 scenario, we've seen Lewis Hamilton versus Nico Rosberg. It is a phenomenal track to race on, so yeah, it really depends. But on to the last lap of the race we go. We still got 62% battery. Josh obviously boxed 2 laps earlier than us, so he's on all the tires, but he's not going to be hitting the second cliff of the tires, so it's not going to be an easy move if we are going to be able to make a move. Alfie Butcher in P6 with the fast lap. He drove a much better race than me, to be honest, because yeah, we just stayed in the same position, whereas he moved up 4 positions. So yeah, maybe 5, I'm not sure exactly where he started, but much better race than us. Yeah, I'm not saying we didn't have the pace, but like in Silverstone, for example, where we had phenomenal pace in the race, it just slightly makes a difference. You could think like half a tenth per lap in the race doesn't make a difference, but it does, and that's such a frustrating thing, because we I think just slightly lacked that edge today in the race to make big moves, to get past people, to get in the right position, as Alvaro Carreton is struggling a little bit there, fighting Alfie Butcher. So Alfie's moved up to P5, but yeah, that's just the thing we lacked today. The thing that we've had over the past 5 years in races in F1 Esports. The thing that caused always people to say that I'm so lucky, but it's just putting yourself into the right position at the right time, at the right moment. Having good race pace makes every strategy look great, and we didn't have that today as we moved to P7 after penalties. yeah, we didn't have that today. As simple as that. We lacked the edge. And yeah, you just cannot always have a great race. Alfie Butcher with a 3-second penalty, moving us up to P7. I think that 3 seconds got removed though, so we might be dropping down to P8 again. But yeah, doesn't matter much anyway, because we drove a shit race. Simple as that. We have to do better. But at the same time, you cannot always hit 6 or whatever, triple 20. I don't know what the English saying is. There's a saying for it in the Dutch, but in the Dutch language, sorry. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this F1 Esports video nonetheless. Sorry that we did not perform this event as well as we should have. I reckon there was a lot more in there, but hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe for more F1 Esports videos, and of course the F1 24 content that's gonna be coming more of very soon. And see you guys next time. Ciao.